Have you ever felt like you're starting over? For the past 3 years, my husband and I have packed up our lives and moved to a new country every single year. I know, it sounds exciting, right? You get to learn a new culture, you get to meet amazing or fascinating people, and that cozy little cafe that you've discovered feels like home in unfamiliar city. And yes, those moments are truly magical, but behind the Instagram worthy scenes, it's so exhausting. Believe me, it's so exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally. And sometimes it feels that we're running empty and this lifestyle is just so unsustainable. So there's a saying that goes, when you marry someone, you marry their whole journey too. And I thought I understood that until I actually lived it. Marriage has seasons. There are times that your partner has to step forward and the other one has to step back to support. And sometimes you're the one making the sacrifice so your partner can chase something meaningful. It can be your partner's career or your partner's passion. It can be anything. And the beautiful thing, that support find its way back to you. We talk about compromise in marriage, but when it's grounded in love and trust, it doesn't feel like it's heavy. It doesn't feel like it's letting go, but it feels like you're building something together. For me, that meant following my husband's job. Even when it meant moving often, sometimes with barely any notice. Each time I have to leave my job, my friends, my community, my routine and everything. And I have to start from scratch over and over. And that's exactly why I created this channel, Chapters with Precious. I wanted to create a gentle space for us, for people like you who are constantly changing, adapting, or shifting, and sometimes moving across countries to pursue your career or build a life with the one you love. Or whether you're excited about change or feeling a little afraid of it, or standing right in the middle of a brand new chapter with no clear plan, I want you to know that this space is for you. This is the very first video on this channel, and to be very honest, I've been thinking a lot about what should I put out there, what kind of message I want to begin with. And then I thought, why not starting by sharing the gentle things that have carried me through during this journey. And so today I'm sharing 5 gentle reminders that have helped me navigate life's uncertain seasons and how we can all rebuild a sense of home and self no matter where life takes us. Number 1 is let go of the timeline. I used to believe that life was supposed to follow a certain timeline, like, get a stable job or find a perfect partner, find an apartment, buy a house, settle down, build a family, and then everything would just fall into place. But when you're moving every year, when life keeps shifting around you, the ideal timeline starts to feel less of a guide and more like a weight. What I've learned is this. Timelines are often someone else's idea of success. And when I tried to chase that, I ended up feeling like I was constantly falling behind. And the truth is, there's no deadline for finding your purpose, your people, your community, your peace. Every season has something to teach us, even the slow ones or even the uncertain ones. So now I try to show up for the life I have today instead of waiting for everything to be perfect or to be in place. I just let go of that timeline. It's about giving them space to unfold in their own time. Next is number 2, redefine what home means. Home isn't just a place, it's how you feel. It's the cup of tea you make every morning. It's the scent of your lotion, the playlist that you always go back to, or the quiet rituals that make you feel safe and seen. For a long time, I thought home had to be permanent. I thought it needed roots and furniture and years of memories. But I've learned that home can also exist in transition. So, for example, when I used to live in Bangkok, Thailand, I remember unpacking our suitcases into this tiny apartment that had plain white walls and barely any furniture. I felt disoriented, like I was just passing through. But then I lit a candle that my cousin gave me back home before we left, and I also cooked sinigang. It's our dish back home, and my mom used to cook whenever I feel sick or something, and that made me feel better actually. And something shifted. Of course, still wasn't, I still feel homesick, but it felt like my home at that time. So, yeah, since then I've carried pieces of home with me, like books, spices, cozy blanket, even my favorite mug back home. I brought it with me, and it reminds me that home isn't just a location, it's a feeling. A rhythm, a space you create intentionally, even if it's temporary. Number 3 is prioritize connection over perfection. It's so easy to isolate yourself when you're starting over. And I'm pretty sure you've also encountered this experience. When you're in a new place, surrounded by a new language or unfamiliar routines, it can feel safer to just stay in your little bubble. But I've learned over and over that connection, even the tiniest kind, can make all the difference. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the perfect story to tell or the right words to say. Sometimes it's just a smile at the bakery that you visit each week, or saying yes to a coffee with someone you've just only met. Well, you have to be careful with the stranger danger, but you know what I mean. When we first moved to Paris, I was so nervous to connect with other women or with other people because at the time I didn't know how to speak French yet, and I was really anxious all the time. But one day I just said yes to a group walk in the park, and that one yes turned out into a conversation, which turned into connection that I really needed at the time. So many of us think we need to have it all together before we put ourselves out there. But the truth is, people don't connect with perfection. They connect with real, being open, messy, curious, and a little loss is more than enough. And that's how community begins. And number 4 is create gentle routines. Routines ground you, especially when everything else around you feels unfamiliar or constantly changing. And they don't have to be perfect or aesthetic, they just have to feel like yours. For me, it started with really simple things. For example, I always stretch every morning on the floor before my day begins, or lighting a candle before I write, or doing my journals, or taking 5 slow deep breaths before my first cup of coffee in the morning. I know that sounds weird, but I do it all the time. I have a story actually for you. When we moved to France, every, everything felt new. Of course, I didn't know the language. I was just starting to learn French, and the grocery stores feels very foreign to me. Even the people that walk down the street, I felt really overwhelmed, like I was always catching up. But having these little rituals, it gave me something to come back to every day. A moment of stillness that remind me you're here, you're safe, and you're doing your best. So I have a little funny story. I remember during my first 2 weeks in France, and I wanted to buy a croissant and a baguette, and because I was desperately craving for it. And so I went to the boulangerie or the bakery, and even though I practiced what to say, I completely blanked out. I didn't know what to say. I uttered few words, but I totally butchered the pronunciation. But I guess I was lucky at the time because the staff were really nice and patient to me, and I got what I needed. They were able to understand what I was saying. So anyway, I got what I needed, and I kept doing it, like not every day, but like maybe twice or 3 times a week. I would go to this boulangerie and speak to them, and after a few weeks they became my friends. And it was a nice experience for me, not to only practice my French, but to also connect with other people, even if we all just talk about baguette, croissant, pain au raisin, and all the patisserie in France. But it was a nice experience for me. And the last one is talk kindly to yourself. I know we're almost done. Just hang in there. Now we'll talk about transitions, right? Transitions are very hard, and even the exciting ones can come with a quiet heaviness. You're grieving who you were, you're adjusting to who you're becoming, and carrying the weight of uncertainty. And in those moments, your inner critic, she tends to speak the loudest. You hear this word sometimes in your mind that tells you, oh, you should be doing more, you should have figured this out by now, why are you still feeling lost, and so many things in your head, and it's annoying. And I've had to learn to talk to myself like I would to a friend, and I would speak to her gently, in a loving way, and with grace. So instead of saying, oh, you're failing, I would say, you're learning, it's okay, it's your learning curve. Instead of saying you're behind, you're lost, I would say you're right where you needed to be. So there was a time I kept pushing myself to adapt quickly, to bounce back from every move or life change. But growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, tender, slow, and in those slow seasons, the most powerful thing you can do is to be your soft place to land. So now when I'm overwhelmed or feeling unsure, I just pause and say, you're doing the best you can, and that's enough today. Because the way you speak to ourselves shapes the way we move through life. And healing, rebuilding, becoming, they all begin with kindness. And if any of these reminders spoke to you, I hope you'll carry them with you into whatever seasons you're in right now. You're not alone, and if you ever feel like you're figuring things out one messy or beautiful step at a time, just know that I'd love to hear your story, so feel free to share in the comment section. And if this space feels like somewhere you'd want to come back to, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'd love to grow this little community with you. So until next time, take care of your heart, and remember, it's okay to begin again. Okay? It's okay to begin again. Thank you for being here today, and see you next time on Chapters with Precious.